Tell me, is the viral slowdown speeding up your fears? Hey, I'm Tom Harrison, founder of Walk Your Why and creator of Slow, a practice designed to move quickly from distraction to inspired action. If you're new to Slow, please check out the Live Your 2020 Vision Facebook group, sponsored by Walk Your Why and guided by me, Tom Harrison. You can also go directly to the Slow practice at bit.ly/slow practice. I hope to see you there. So, as we all, seriously, all of us on the planet, it seems, find ourselves in the tightening grip of government restrictions, ask yourself, and maybe it's just blatantly obvious, is this viral slowdown speeding up your fears? The purpose of this audio is threefold. One, to share an empowering fact about this problem of accelerated fear, of our fears speeding up. Two, to share an awesome solution to this problem of accelerated fear. And third, to share a brief story about the problem of accelerated fear, of our fears speeding up in this viral slowdown, and an awesome solution you can begin to engage now. So if that sounds good to you, let's walk. So first, I want to share an empowering fact about this problem of our fears speeding up in reaction to what I'm calling this viral slowdown, right? I'm not even going to repeat the name of the virus. It's also imprinted on our minds right now. You don't need to hear more of that. What I want to do is focus on some solutions for you. Focus on some facts and some action that can get you out of this viral distraction. So, I want to begin by sharing what for me is really an empowering fact about this problem of accelerated fear. And to be more accurate, it's kind of a two-part fact that I'm going to share. And it's a fact we all already know, but sometimes we simply need to be reminded about facts in a way that's really relevant to us right now and put in a context where we can see how relevant and how important and empowering a given fact or facts can be for us in a given situation. And of course, right now I'm talking about this viral slowdown that is speeding up our fears. So the fact I want to remind ourselves about goes way back in time, essentially to the beginning of human beings, when, for reasons of survival, like the possibility of getting eaten by the classic example of a saber-toothed tiger, or probably many other different animals that could overpower us and destroy us, often because we're trying to hunt them for food. So they're like, hell no, I'm going to eat you, Jack. Right? So, right, there was that. There was, hey, could we even have a meal today? Was it going to be a saber-toothed cat, but could I even catch a rabbit? Or could I, forage enough food out of the forest, out of the jungle to eat today, to feed my family, right? Was I going to be, was I going to fall off a cliff? I mean, any number of things. I mean, just imagine. Imagine the beginning of humanity when we just don't have the tools we have today. And, if we fall and break a leg, it's probably not going to get fixed right away. We're probably going to get eaten. Okay, we had really, really good reasons for fear. I mean, like damn good reasons for fear. And we all know that what fear caused, right, this reaction we call fear, caused us to either take flight from what was threatening our survival, right? And most of us probably didn't actually fly then, but we ran like hell, right? Or we decided to fight that which was threatening our survival. Now, hey, by the way, this didn't always work, right? We didn't always win. But without fear, without that reaction, we would have been dead meat. We would not have stood a chance. In the third way, we would react in fear for our survival was to freeze, right? So it was either fight, flight, or freeze. And in that case, we would just be as still as possible, as quiet as possible, hoping and praying, if we were evolved enough to hope and pray at that time. Maybe it was just strictly fear, right? But that was our defense against whatever was threatening our survival. Because maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't see us. It wouldn't hear us. It wouldn't notice us. And we would survive for at least another day or another moment until we met the next threat, right? Now, we also know that today, right, after all of these millennia, since we first came onto this planet, we still experience fear. And yet, most of the time, by far most of the time, right? I don't know what the percentage is, but it's probably like 99.99999% for most of us. When we feel fear, our survival is not threatened. So we know this, right? We're aware of this. And this takes me to the second part, or the second fact that allows this all to be empowering, right? This embedded knowledge, what most of us are very clear about, we understand. We also understand that it happens, right? Even though we're very clear on why we react in fear, it still happens, right? It's still happening in our lives, frequently for many of us, regularly, consistently. We also know that fear causes stress. And we know that stress diminishes our immune capacity. And we know that when our immune capacity is diminished, that we are more susceptible to a virus, for example. So these facts that I've laid out that we all know already, but hopefully can really reconsider in this current context, right, of this viral slowdown that is speeding up our fears. These facts can empower us to take direct action, to move out of this fear distraction and move into inspired actions that reduce the fear and therefore reduce the stress and therefore help create conditions to optimize our immune capacity and be more prepared should a virus come our way. A virus in the classic sense, right? That leads to illness and contagion. But also this additional virus we're experiencing now, what I'm calling this viral slowing down, right? All of these government restrictions, well-intended, that are changing our lives from moment to moment, it seems. I'm in Northern California, and we are now being required to shelter in place, right? Bars are closed. Hey, it's St. Patrick's Day and the bars are closed. Has that ever happened? Green smoothies are now being resorted to over green beer. But at least that makes more authentic, I would imagine, the here's to your health St. Patty's Day cheer. And that's a great segue to the awesome solution I'd like to share for reducing fear, right? And it's really all about health and good cheer. It really is, right? Because we're not experiencing either of those qualities, health or good cheer, happiness, when we're in fear, right? We're certainly not optimizing those qualities. That's for sure. So, the awesome solution I'd like to offer is the practice called slow. And what I'd like to do to demonstrate this practice and how it can be helpful is to share a story about someone who just yesterday I shared the slow practice with, because they were relating to me how this viral slowdown, right, that's going on with these restrictions, particularly in Northern California or much of California, where we're having to now shelter in place. Bars are closing, restaurants are closing, or they're just allowed to do takeout. There's just change after change happening. Only what they call essential businesses are allowed to be opening. And this is radical change happening very quickly and moment by moment. And she was expressing to me how she was just stressing out, right? And stressing because of the fears that were literally speeding up, right? In reaction to these restrictive changes by the government, right? It was just ramping up her fears about the virus itself and what I'm calling this viral slowing down, right? It seems to be contagious. One thing gets shut down and then 100 things get shut down and then everything gets shut down. That's what it feels like, right? And what we must be careful of is that we don't shut down. It's so important that we don't let ourselves shut down. And in order to prevent that shutting down of ourselves, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as well as physically, we must address our fears, reduce our fears, right? And be as healthy as we can be. And one of the easiest ways to get on that health track is to reduce fears. And so the slow practice that I shared with her helped her by, number one, the first step of the slow practice, allowing her to just stop, right? And so together we stopped. We just stopped and took a moment to interrupt this pattern that really seemed to be happening to us, right? This pattern of change that really is, in this case, happening to us. Changes are being made that we have no control over. And yet, our response, we have great control over, right? And so we were really interrupting the pattern of our response. And the response to these changes has been heightened fear, accelerated fear in many ways. And so by simply engaging the first step of the slow practice, which is stop, stand still, and simply be, she and I, really together, we were able to experience in real time an interruption of that pattern in the moment, an acknowledgement that, hey, we can choose a different path. We don't have to just be completely ruled and run by the data coming at us. No, we can choose to receive it in a more mindful way. We can choose to not be afraid of the information, but be empowered. We can choose to be grateful for the data that helps us stay safe rather than angry and just pissed off. What? Shelter in place? I don't want to do that. I want to be partying. It's St. Patrick's Day, right? We can be grateful for the health we have. Hopefully you are in good health, right? All of these things reduce fear. So by allowing ourselves to stop, stand still and simply be, we can drop into a place of simply being, for example, in gratitude. And gratitude for what we have, and gratitude for the health, the good health we're currently in, and gratitude for all of those we love, who we want to protect, we want to keep from harm, right? And although those fears may still be there at some level, we can so dramatically reduce them, and we know that by reducing our own fears, we can help others reduce theirs, and thus reduce their stress, and thus create conditions for greater immune capacity. Immunity not only from a virus that can lead to physical illness and contagion, but also help build immunity against the viral distraction of fear, which encourages the illness, right? Which sets us up for our immune capacity to be diminished, right? And also sets us up for stress that creates many other problems in our lives, not just illness, right? We all know that stress diminishes our quality of life in so many ways. Certainly impacts our happiness, right? So we have an opportunity to stop, stand still, and simply be, to break that pattern of fear. Now, we may need to do this frequently, regularly, consistently, but isn't that worth it? Right? Isn't it worth giving ourselves the time and the space to slow down? And even if we've already slowed down, right? Because, well, I'm slowed down, all right. I can't go to work, right? I'm slowed down, all right. I just got to stay at home. But maybe your mind is racing with fear, right? So now that we've physically been forced to slow down, for many of us are having to speed up physically. We're in healthcare work and we need to go to work. We need to be on the front lines. The stress is really increased. So even more importantly for you to take the moments you need to slow down, to stop, stand still and simply be, break that pattern and be grateful for all that you have. Break the pattern of fear and be grateful for the awareness of where that fear takes us, right? Grateful that in this moment where we're stopped, standing still and simply be, we can take the second step of slow and look and see where we are. And if where we are is in this state of fear, and we can see that and we recognize it, and we know that it harms us, we know that it creates stress, we know that that stress just diminishes our immune capacity, and we know that that makes us more susceptible, not only to the virus that creates the conditions for illness, but also this virus of our fears speeding up as a result of the slowing down that's happening now, that seems completely out of our control. So look and see where you are. And I was engaging with this individual that I was talking about the slow practice. And we stopped, and when we looked and to see where she was, that's where she was, right? That's how the conversation started. She was in this place of fear. But now that we could stop and be present and look and see, she had more of a command of where she was. She saw the fear, but she also saw it diminishing in the moment. Because simply stopping and getting a grip and getting grounded and being grateful for where she was already, recognizing that all these fears, but okay, slow down. Take a breath, get grounded. Look and see where you are, be present. Okay. Okay. I have more control over this than I thought. I don't have to be wrapped up in the fear. I don't have to be hanging on every word in the news, right? And all these conflicting stories. I don't have to be wrapped in fear about what will come next, right? What's this going to do to me and my family? Yes, I'll be mindful. I'll be present. And then we stepped in the third step of the slow practice together. And by the way, if this is confusing to you at all, please engage the slow practice, learn more about it. The easiest way, the most direct way is to go to the website bit.ly/slow practice. But so we went into this next step, the third step of the slow practice. First step was stop, stand still, and simply be. The second step was to look and see, be present to where you are. So we're present to this reality that she was in fear, and now already it was diminishing as she looked at it, as she recognized it, as she heightened her awareness and became awakened to the fear that was happening. Now she was empowered to take the third step in slow, which is to orient yourself in the direction you want to go. From where you are, point A, to where you want to be, point B, B-E. It was very, very clear to her as we engaged together this practice. By the way, out on a trail in nature, so it was a perfectly nurturing space to do this. So I would encourage that if you can. We addressed this obvious reality that where she wanted to go right now is to step further out of fear, right? Already the fear diminished in the moment, but she knew that she'd have to repeat this practice in order to give her the space to keep stepping out of fear, because she knew the fears would come back, right? She was smart enough to realize that, things would keep changing and new realities would be appearing. And, she didn't know what might happen with her work or with her family or the ability to get food or toilet paper, right? So it was so helpful for her to just realize, okay, I know exactly where I want to go. I want to go to a place where I'm consistently, regularly, frequently addressing my fears, because I know they're going to keep coming up. I know that I'm wired for fear, right? I know that I'm wired for fight or flight or freeze. And I know that all of that creates stress. And I know that stress diminishes my immune capacity. And it also diminishes my capacity for good cheer, for happiness, right? So it was very, very clear, and it was so empowering for me to be with somebody in that moment, in this moment of crisis, and see so clearly where she was. And I'll have to admit, where in many ways I am too, right? We're all uncertain in this time. So we kind of shared this together, but she was really in a stressful place. And I was actually out on the trail doing this slow practice and already addressing this, but still I could so relate, right? And so it got her to a place where she could easily orient herself in the direction of consistently reducing her fear. And she had a simple solution: to just continue to do the slow practice, to bring it to others in her family and in her life, so that she could begin to create this shield, this beautiful shield, not a defensive shield, but a shield of love, a shield of compassion for herself and for others, where she could be mindful of what she needs to do to be safe and to feel healthy, but to stay as far from fear as she could, right? And to keep coming back to the practice, to keep coming back to slowing down, stopping, simply being present to where she was, to where she is in any moment, and as often as necessary, reorienting to the direction of less stress, right? Of calmness, of peace of mind, of trust, of faith in herself, knowing she's going to do the right things. And then the last step of the practice became rather easy, because the last step in the slow practice is walk. It's the W in slow. We have stop, look, orient, and walk. And that is simply to take movement in the direction of where you want to go, right? To take that inspired action out of the distraction, in this case of fear, which for many of us is our primary distraction, whether we realize it or not. That's the most powerful one. That's the one that can do the most damage for most of us and be the hardest to really get away from, especially in times like these, right? So I hope that story of my experience with this beautiful woman on a trail where we engaged in conversation, and naturally the topic was the virus. And I was so grateful that she shared with me just enough, which didn't take much, right? For me to realize that this was really bringing her down. And she was willing to engage with me in the slow practice. And so I invite you to engage the slow practice as well. And I hope that you will find that the practice can be an awesome solution for you to dramatically reduce your fear and thus dramatically reduce your stress and thus help you to optimize not only your immune capacity as it relates to the virus itself that could create physical illness and contagion, but also this fear itself, which is a viral distraction, which causes so many problems beyond a physical affliction, right? And can help us navigate to whole new realms of possibility in these challenging times for ourselves and all we love. So I wish you the best. Happy trails. Walk your why. And take it slow.